Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So last week we spoke about Pedro Lopez and he was the monster of the Andes. So if you haven't seen that, the link should be up here for you. But today we're going to talk about another true crime story that happened in South Africa quite a little while ago. And we're going to talk about the axe killer, or better known as the Tokoloshe Killer. And that is Elifasi Msomi. So if you would like to hear about the Tokoloshe Killer or the axe killer, then let's get into it.
Intended for mature audiences only.
Now for this case, there was not a lot of information about the little nitty-gritty details of Elifasi, so I'm sorry that there's not a bigger background about him. But Elifasi Msomi was born in 1910. The date or the month is not really known, but the year was 1910. And he was born in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. Elifasi was a Zulu man, and it was said that he really wanted to be a sangoma. And if you don't know what a sangoma is, it is basically a traditional healer where community members will generally go to the sangoma before they go to anywhere else, like a doctor or someone who is not really in their community. But Elifasi was not very successful in his quest to become a sangoma, so he didn't end up being successful, but he still really wanted this. What he did was that he went to find a professional sangoma or someone who has been doing it for such a long time, and he basically went to intern them or shadow them so that he could try and be like them. But while Elifasi and this professional sangoma were busy with their teachings, Elifasi said that he became possessed, coerced by something called a Tokoloshe. And if you're not aware of what a Tokoloshe is, it is basically like a little mystical creature that is very mischievous and very naughty, and it basically makes you do things that are in the detriment to other people. So it's basically like a bad spirit that is telling you to do something that you shouldn't in the harm of other people. So like I said, Elifasi, while learning how to be a sangoma, now believed that he was possessed by a Tokoloshe. And this Tokoloshe was now on his shoulder, telling him to do very evil things. Elifasi said that this Tokoloshe wanted him to bring 15 vials of blood or 15 bottles of blood of 15 different victims. And Elifasi's first victim was a young woman. And by killing her, Elifasi wanted to prove that he was obedient and that he could do what the Tokoloshe asked him to do. But this young woman that he murdered, she was first sexually assaulted and then murdered by Elifasi. And he did this in front of his current mistress or girlfriend. So some sources said that it was his girlfriend, some sources said that it was his mistress, which there could be both, but I'm assuming then that he may have been married in order for her to be a mistress, but that wasn't really clear. But basically it was someone that he was romantically involved with that he killed another woman in front of. And when Elifasi killed this first victim, he kept her blood in a bottle. And his mistress was like, no thank you, this is not what I signed up for. And she ran to the police and told them about what Elifasi did. And the police did end up arresting Elifasi, but he escaped. And when Elifasi escaped, he basically said that his escape and the strength was given to him by the Tokoloshe. So over the next year and a half, now that Elifasi was on the run, he did end up killing around 15 people because that is what the Tokoloshe wanted from him. And he would either sit and stalk the victims until he found them and took them into a remote area, or what Elifasi would do is he would pretend to be a sangoma and then he would lure them into a quiet place as well and then murder them that way. So what I find interesting about Elifasi is that he didn't really have a preference for any, he didn't only kill women, he didn't only kill children. It didn't matter to him who the victim was as long as he got his vials of blood. So basically for Elifasi, it was whoever was the perfect opportunity that came into his line of sight that would be his next victim. The only thing that Elifasi did keep consistent was the weapons that he used in order to kill his victims. So he would either use an axe, a knopkerrie, or a knife. And while Elifasi was a fugitive on the run, he did end up killing 5 children. And after Elifasi killed the 5 children, he did stay quite low and quite hidden for a little while. But police did eventually end up linking the 5 children's deaths to Elifasi, and he was arrested again. And of course, Elifasi's faithful companion, the Tokoloshe, helped him escape prison again. So after he was first arrested for killing the first victim, which was a young woman, and then after his second arrest with killing the 5 children, there was no more information about who his next victims were, or if they were women, if they were men, if they were children. But he did end up killing 15 people in total. and it was said that he could have killed more. But Elifasi did end up giving the 15 vials of blood to the Tokoloshe that he promised, and according to Elifasi, the Tokoloshe was now happy and he was ready to release him from his possession. So Elifasi and the Tokoloshe went to a river so that he could be cleansed of the Tokoloshe. Now remember, his killing spree started in 1953, and now we are fast forwarding to 1955. So he has just been released from the Tokoloshe, and now he is without this Tokoloshe and he has no more power. So he did end up committing more crimes. But as far as I know, he did not commit any more murders, which are on record. So he may have, but it was mostly petty crimes that he did without the Tokoloshe on his shoulder. And because he was doing petty crimes, he did end up getting arrested again, and he was taken to prison for these. But when he was in prison, he did end up telling the police everything, and he even took them to the graves of some of the victims to show them their bodies. So Elifasi did end up going to trial, and this was also in 1955. But while Elifasi was in trial, he claimed that he was only guilty, or he was coerced by this demon or by this evil Tokoloshe. And obviously while I was in trial, he obviously can say what he wants to say, but there were also the prosecutors who had their side of the story, and there were two psychologists who disagreed with what happened to all the victims and why Elifasi did it. The psychologists basically believed that Elifasi was under no spell. According to Elifasi, the reason he did it was because the Tokoloshe wanted 15 vials of blood, remember? But what happened to the victims kind of contradicted what Elifasi was saying, because Elifasi ended up not only stealing from the victims, he also sexually assaulted them, and that was not what the Tokoloshe wanted, remember? Or not what the Tokoloshe specifically asked. But on the 10th of Feb 1956, Elifasi Msomi was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging in Pretoria's Central Prison. And because Elifasi continuously spoke about the Tokoloshe and that he had escaped numerous times, there was a high level of discomfort and anxiety within the Zulu communities. And upon request, the judge allowed for 9 different chiefs and some of the elders within these communities to witness the death of Elifasi, specifically the hanging of Elifasi, because they wanted to make sure that he was actually dead and that the Tokoloshe did not in fact save Elifasi's life after he was hanged. One chief even believed that Elifasi would come back as a Tokoloshe himself. So this story was very short. I wouldn't say short and sweet, but maybe short and scary. Let me know what you think of the story down below. Do you think that he was really possessed, or do you think that it was just something that he did and blamed it on the mystical creature of the Tokoloshe? I'm not really sure about the story because you obviously see a lot of movies or true crime movies where people are possessed and they base it on the movie. But there's movies like 8 that is just on Netflix, not advertised, just saying, like that kind of movie, or The Conjuring, where souls are possessed and they have to fulfill certain things in order to get rid of these demons. Those are also my favorite movies, by the way. But let me know what you think of the story down below. If you have any other crime stories that you would like to suggest, please let me know down in the comment section below. But otherwise, I'll see you again next Sunday. Bye.